There he is. There he is. Oh, hey, you don't have to tell me. I know how it is to get on Instagram Live, man.
This is the first time I've ever attempted Instagram Live. It's very clear I have no effing clue what I'm supposed to be doing. I just kept looking around. I'm like, dude, where's the like? Can't I just get a
Hey,
link? Someone just send me a link, and apparently there was a link.
hey, look, we already know the difficulties of technology these days, but AK, man, the Lakers aren't stopping. Rob Pelinka is not stopping. The Lakers front office is not sleeping. Mark
No,
Williams is a Lakers. They got rid of Dalton Knecht. They moved him to the Charlotte Hornets along with Cam Reddish, and they went ahead and got rid of their other profitable pick, their 2031 first round pick. I mean, people have been asking me, they've been tweeting at me and stuff all through social media, like, how is Mark Williams? Is he a great fit with this Lakers team? Can you elaborate a little bit on how Mark Williams will be able to fit with this Lakers team?
look, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a bigger expert on Mark Williams than I actually am. Like most human beings, I do not watch a lot of Charlotte Hornets basketball, and that includes, by the way, the citizens of Charlotte. They don't either. But I have seen Mark Williams play before. I've seen him play against the Lakers. I've seen him, over his career. He is young. He's athletic. He's a lob threat. If I had to guess, the Lakers are picturing trying to recreate what Luka had with Derek Lively, which last year was an instant connection between those two. They've played really well before. He's a good finisher. He's a very good rebounder, both offensively and defensively. And I think it's like 25 minutes a game this season. He's averaging three offensive rebounds a game and like three second chance points. So that's an area where the Lakers have needed that type of help. One thing I also I like everybody in LA, I've been on the fly trying to get as much information about Mark Williams as I can. One thing that jumped out at me though, averaging 2.5 assists a game from the center position, a guy that's only played about 80 something games in his career. He's had some injuries. We can get into that as well, but that to me suggests, again, part of a good offensive feel for the game, and ways that I think he can be useful, particularly with an offense where JJ, I think, tries to emphasize the ball moving a lot. The general consensus is defensively work in progress. Like there's gonna be some frustration. You need to accept the idea that he's 23. He is less experienced in some ways than he should be in his third season in the NBA. And that part of his game is behind the
I
offense.
saw some tweets from McMiniman when the trade did happen that Luke, I guess they sat down with Luka and pretty much were discussing with them like, hey, like with your offense with Dallas, like what success did you have in that offense with Dallas? And you obviously brought it with Derek Lively, and you brought it when they had Daniel Gafford and Luka Doncic. You already know he loves that pick and roll game, the 2-man game, being able to throw it up when defenders do collide or double team him. So I think adding Mark Williams and seeing how much of a threat he has been. I think I mean personally, I don't have no problem with this trade. I mean, it's obvious that the Lakers are addressing they addressed the big man issue, and that's everyone what they've been asking for. So I mean, 7'2", got a good wingspan as well, really athletic. I had people did tweet at me though as well, like what makes Mark Williams a better fit than a guy like Walker Kessler?
Well, first of all, I would say that he was gettable. I have never bought that Walker Kessler was actually really an option unless the Lakers were just going to seriously overpay. It's never made sense to me that the Jazz, as a rebuilding team, would want to trade a 23-year-old double-double defensive presence, like, a shot blocker. I think some of that has been wish casting by Laker fans, and also just last season he was not playing a lot, and then maybe that would explain why. Okay, maybe Will Hardy doesn't see him as part of the future. What like I've just never bought that Walker Kessler was available. Frankly, I never pictured Mark Williams being available because Charlotte's in the same situation. Like from when you've been there during Lakers talk, I had been targeting Nick Richards, who had been Mark Williams's backup in Charlotte. He's now in
Yeah,
Phoenix.
yeah.
But to me, he seemed like somebody that was more gettable. He's in his mid 20s, wouldn't fit the same timeline. I I'll be honest, I never considered Mark Williams because it never dawned on me that Charlotte would even make him available.
Mhm. Now I saw reports as well that the Hornets are actually interested in Dalton Knecht, and seeing how the season was for Dalton Knecht, he had lot of highs, but he also started getting into that rookie slump where when he wasn't making shots, he let his offense dictate his defense to the point where his minutes started to decrease a little bit in the rotation, and you see JJ Redick trying to get the offense revolved around him. Were you surprised that the Lakers shipped Dalton Knecht this early, as far as in this trade deadline,
Would
knowing that his ceiling was actually really really high with his Lakers team?
I would have been more surprised pre Luka trade. I think once Luka arrived, I think basically everything was on the table. Like some guys were less likely to get moved than others. Like, Austin Reeves, I think is pretty high on the unlikely list. Once Luka arrived, LeBron, I'm not counting because he's LeBron and also has no trade clause. And then guys like Rui and Gabe Vincent, I think more likely to stick around. We'll see. There's still like 12 hours to go. Who knows? But I think they were always more likely to stay, but fluid. And then someone like Dalton, I imagine the organization still thinks he can be a really good player. I think he will end up a good player. But if you're thinking about the right now, especially once they acquire DFS, Vando has been back in the lineup. He's still only playing about 15 to 20 minutes, but I think he's been looking good when he has been available. And defensively, he can play in the same slot as Dalton, essentially. You've got Gabe hitting outside shots. Rui's been killing it from outside. DFS can hit outside. Obviously, Austin, LeBron, and Luka can do that as well. I think once the playoffs rolled around, Dalton's role would have been really limited anyway. And I think that once Luka became part of the equation, I don't want to say Dalton became expendable, but I think he became somebody that you rationalize the idea of moving him more easily because you're thinking about the possibilities of, not just down the road with Luca, but what could be right now. And Mark Williams has never been in the playoffs. I have no idea what that's going to look like. If I had to guess, there will be some times where he looks like someone who's never been in the playoffs before. But I think his role in the playoffs is more defined than what Dalton Knecht's role would have been in the playoffs. I think Dalton would have been like a ninth-ish man. And I don't know how much of a factor he would have been right now. Mark Williams may not be perfect in the playoffs, but he's absolutely going to have a role beyond whatever upside you think Williams could have down the road compared to Dalton.
I talked about it with you on Lakers talk, and I mentioned that I don't know how how we would feel about Don with Jackson Hayes being in the starting five throughout the rest of the season.
No, I knew
I
how I
actually,
felt.
I mean, I'm actually really
I had a pretty
happy.
good idea how I felt, Deondre.
I'm actually really, really happy that they did acquire Mark Williams because he's been in that starting role and he has taken over a lot as far as in his role with the Charlotte Hornets. And knowing how Mark Williams is, he's scrappy, he rebounds the ball really well, the block shots really well, has really athletic size. So, but I just like the notion of, okay, now we're able to bring Jackson Hayes to go in there for spurts to go out there and provide a spark off the bench where he's truly, truly good at. My one last question for you before we end this quick emergency Lakers talk, I would say.
we, Brian and I recorded for Locked On Lakers 5 days a week every week. Get your podcast Monday to Friday, always free, never behind the paywall for the sickos who like to watch. There's a YouTube component. We recorded, I don't know, I want to say around 8 o'clock or something, like a look ahead to the trade deadline, like who might the Lakers target. We agreed, center was the most pressing need right now. We had talked about um like we agreed like Kessler wouldn't be available. We doubted Miles Turner would be an option, but maybe like Day'Ron Sharp as a possibility, guys like that. And then we were wondering like, would Bruce Brown maybe kind of split the difference as somebody who can kind of play big and small. And then we probably should have realized things were going to go to hell because we published that show. And as the show was publishing, the news breaks that Bruce Brown's been traded. Then 10 minutes after that, uh, news breaks that the Lakers traded for Mark Williams. So we're just like, it ain't
Man,
stopping, Deondre. It ain't
yeah,
stopping.
no, I hear you. I hear you, man. Between this Luka Doncic trade and then Mark Williams, I mean, like I said, the Lakers front office is hungry right now. They're in that. They're definitely in that win now mentality. But one last question for you before we
Sure.
end this night. So I've been doing some research, and I know Mark Williams has had an injury history.
Yes.
He has having left foot injuries. You know, has not played a full season. So should we be concerned with Mark Williams going forward in this season? And also, I saw Bobby Marks put out a tweet that the Lakers are now under the second apron, I believe, and then they're able to get into the buyout market. They have like 2.3 million to 3 million in space to get one more roster spot. Who do you think the Lakers should acquire if that was so?
As far as the second part of the question, I'd have to look at who is getting bought out and what their original salary was before the buyout, because the Lakers, being a first apron team, they're going to be restricted in terms of like Dennis Schroeder, for example. I think he's going to Utah, and I can't imagine that they're not looking for a buyout. Were Schroeder bought out, his original contract, I'm like 99% sure, is too expensive, and therefore he would not be an option for the Lakers. So it's hard to know without looking at guys' original contracts. I just don't know them all off the top
Yeah,
of my head.
yeah.
As far as the idea of being concerned about Mark Williams, I think the answer is yes. Like I consider this a medium to high risk deal with hopefully a high upside reward. Like if Mark Williams stays healthy, at minimum, you have a now just 23-year-old, super athletic, legit 7 foot rim runner, rebounder, like even the areas that like defense that we know are going to be deficient, at least for the time being, like you've got something to work with. You've got something to start with. And that is a position that is harder to fill than, again, like Dalton Knecht, who I think he's going to be good. To me, he's clearly an NBA player, even with, his own defensive issues to figure out and other stuff like that. But unless Dalton really becomes like a next level shooter, he could still be a really good player, but it's easier to find Dalton Knecht than I think it is to find what the Lakers are envisioning in Mark Williams.
Mm,
I mean, just there. Look, man, there are more. You see more people who are like 6'6" out in the wild than you do 7 feet.
no.
Like we recently had a guy over here fixing our dishwasher, or excuse me, our laundry machine, that I could swear if he's not 7 feet, he was at least 6'10". It was jarring, like to see someone of that size, just like he was ducking in our archways, and like that's unusual.
Mm,
Whereas Dalton Knecht, I'm pretty sure could have walked through without ducking, and
mm,
he's tall. He's a tall
yeah.
guy, so it's just
Mm,
it's there's a risk to it. There's no question, and the Lakers are obviously going to be looking to extend Mark Williams because of the capital that they gave up. There's risk involved. There's no question. I'm okay with it because having Luka there, I think in some way tempers a bit of whatever risks you're going to be making, just because he's so good. I think it's a risk worth taking, but there is risk. I'm not going to lie about it.
man, well, look, the Lakers are still the trade deadline is not to what 12 more hours away. Who knows what Rob Pelinka's got?
Give me a few hours to sleep, Rob, please.
Yeah, who knows who
I mean,
who.
it took me 20 minutes to figure out the Instagram thing, Rob. I need a break, please.
Well, I appreciate you. We all appreciate you for jumping on and hop on this live with me. But trade deadline is tomorrow at noon. We'll see who goes out there and gets traded. But also, we'll see what Rob Pelinka has up his sleeve in the Lakers front office, because obviously they are not sleeping and they are working and they're in that win now mentality. But AK, once again, I appreciate you, man. And I will talk to you soon.
And time for you, man. Thanks.
All righty. See you.
See ya.